concept that'll really make you question everything you thought you knew about reality.
Yeah, get ready to have your mind blown.
We're talking about the EPR paradox.
It all revolves around this crazy thing called quantum entanglement.
Which, by the way, Einstein himself famously called spooky action at a distance.
Exactly.
So before we get too deep into the quantum weeds, let's start with the basics.
Sounds good.
Imagine two particles, like totally inseparable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Linked in a way that they share the same destiny.
Like two sides of the same coin.
You peek at one and boom, you instantly know something about the other.
And we're not talking about some subtle connection here.
Right.
This is precise, instantaneous knowledge.
No matter how far apart they are.
I'm talking across galaxies, across the universe even.
Like if one particle is spinning up, you automatically know the other one has to be spinning down.
Without a doubt.
It's like they're communicating faster than the speed of light, which,
Yeah, that's where things start to get a little messy.
a little paradoxical, to say the least.
Because that whole faster than light thing kind of throws a wrench in our understanding of physics.
So how did this whole EPR paradox thing even come about?
Well, we have to go back in time a bit, back to 1935.
Okay.
There was this paper published by, well, some pretty big names in physics.
Let me guess, Einstein was one of them.
You got it.
Figures.
Albert Einstein, Boris Podolsky, and Nathan Rosen.
So these brilliant minds basically said, hold on a sec, this quantum stuff is getting a little too weird.
They weren't exactly trying to debunk the whole theory.
Oh, okay.
More like they were issuing a challenge.
Hey, are we sure we're not missing something here, kind of thing?
Exactly. They were pointing out that quantum mechanics was leading to some very strange, almost unbelievable conclusions.
So what was their main argument?
Their argument was built on three pretty common sense assumptions about the world.
Okay, let's hear them.
First one, realism. The idea that things have definite properties even when we're not looking at them.
Like that whole, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around, does it make a sound kind of deal?
Precisely. They figured that objects have inherent properties whether we're observing them or not.
Makes sense so far. What's next?
Assumption number 2 is locality.
Locality.
Basically, it means that nothing can influence anything else faster than the speed of light can travel between them.
Right, because if something could zip around faster than light, wouldn't that mess up our whole understanding of cause and effect?
You got it. The universe has a speed limit, and nothing can break it.
And the third assumption.
Determinism. The idea that if you know the current state of something, you can determine its future state.
Kind of like a blueprint, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so they're taking these three pretty reasonable assumptions.
Assumptions that most people wouldn't even think twice about.
Right, and they're applying them to this wild world of quantum entanglement.
Exactly. And here's where things get interesting. You see, when you combine these assumptions with the predictions of quantum mechanics, you run into a bit of a problem.
A problem.
A big one. According to quantum mechanics, if you measure one of these entangled particles, it instantly affects the other one.
No matter how far apart they are.
And that right there seems to violate locality.
The universe's speed limit.
The one and only.
So it's either quantum mechanics is wrong or one of their assumptions has got to go.
Exactly. And Einstein, well, he wasn't quite ready to throw out his entire understanding of how the universe works.
He wasn't one to back down from a challenge.
So he and his buddies proposed that there must be something else going on, something we're missing. They called them hidden variables.
Hidden variables.
Think of it like this. Imagine every time you flip a coin, there's actually some tiny, invisible gremlin inside, deciding whether it lands on heads or tails.
A tiny gremlin.
Maybe not a gremlin, but some hidden factor influencing the outcome. That's kind of what Einstein was suggesting. He thought these hidden variables were predetermined in each particle, so they weren't actually communicating faster than light.
Okay, I kind of get it. But how do you test for these invisible gremlins? Or, I mean, these hidden variables?
That's where a brilliant physicist named John Bell comes in.
Another big name.
In the 1960s, he came up with an ingenious way to test whether Einstein's hidden variable idea held any water.
So how do you prove or disprove something that's hidden?
Bell came up with these mathematical statements called Bell's inequalities. Think of them like a set of rules that must be followed if hidden variables are the real explanation.
Okay, I'm following.
If experiments showed that these inequalities were violated, then it would mean sayonara, to hidden variables.
What happened? Did they violate the inequalities?
Oh, they did. Big time.
Keep out of here.
Starting in the 1970s, and most famously by a physicist named Elaine Aspect in the 1980s, they started doing these really cool experiments.
What kind of experiments?
They created pairs of entangled particles, usually photons, and sent them off in different directions.
Like a quantum breakup.
Then they measured their properties very carefully.
Yeah.
And the results were mind-blowing. The experiments violated Bell's inequalities over and over again. It was a massive win for quantum mechanics. And it suggested that reality might be a whole lot weirder than even Einstein imagined.
So does that mean Einstein was wrong? Does this spooky action at a distance really exist?
It seems like it. The experiments strongly suggest that nature is fundamentally non-local. That means things can be connected in a way that goes against our everyday intuition about space and time. And it means you, dear listener, have to wrap your head around the idea that some things in the universe are fundamentally linked in ways we can't even begin to imagine.
Whoa, okay. So we've established that this spooky action is real, but what does it all mean? What are the implications?
Well, that's a whole other can of worms. The EPR paradox didn't just challenge our understanding of physics. It opened up a Pandora's box of philosophical questions about the very nature of reality.
Okay, now we're talking. Hit me with those philosophical questions.
We'll hold on tight because we're about to go even deeper down the rabbit hole. Even though all these experiments are telling us, hey, this quantum stuff is real, it still leaves us with this, really big question.
Yeah, like what does it all mean?
Right. What is reality,
Does looking at something actually, change reality?
That's a question that's been bugging philosophers and physicists for, decades now.
This EPR paradox thing really makes you think about, the fundamentals of everything,
It totally challenges our everyday understanding of how the world works.
I'm starting to feel like I'm in the Matrix or something.
Haha. Well, maybe not that extreme.
Like, what if every decision we make creates a whole new reality?
Well, there are some interpretations of quantum mechanics that do suggest consciousness, or at least the act of observation, plays a role.
Okay, I'm listening.
One of the most popular ones is the Copenhagen interpretation.
The Copenhagen interpretation?
It basically says that until we measure a particle, it exists in all possible states at the same time.
So it's like a spinning coin in the air, both heads and tails at once.
Exactly. And it's only when we observe it that it collapses into a single definite state.
So our observation is actually shaping reality.
That's one way to think about it.
That's pretty trippy. But the Copenhagen interpretation doesn't explain why this collapse happens, right?
It's one of its biggest criticisms. It kind of just says, well, that's just how quantum mechanics works.
It's like the universe is pulling a fast one on us.
And that's why other interpretations have come about, each one trying to paint a more complete picture.
Okay, tell me about some of the other contenders in this quantum reality showdown.
All right, well, one of the more out there ones is the many worlds interpretation.
The many worlds interpretation.
It says that every possible outcome of a quantum measurement actually does happen,
Hold on.
just in different branching universes.
So every decision we make splits the universe in two.
More like countless universes.
Okay, that's a lot to unpack.
I know, right?
It's mind-boggling.
But a lot of physicists like this interpretation because it avoids the whole problem of wave function collapse. Reality is just constantly branching out, and every possibility exists somewhere in this massive multiverse.
So infinite me is out there somewhere.
Maybe? Haha.
What other interpretations are there?
There are actually quite a few, but another one worth mentioning is the de Broglie-Bohm theory. It's also called the pilot wave theory.
Pilot wave theory. Okay.
This one tries to bring back a bit of determinism to quantum mechanics.
Determinism, that was one of Einstein's assumptions, right?
Exactly. It basically says that particles always have definite positions and speeds, but they're being guided by this invisible pilot wave.
Like a cosmic GPS system.
Yeah, something like that. This wave influences how the particles move, and it evolves according to something called the Schrödinger equation.
That's pretty wild. Doesn't that contradict what those Bell test experiments showed, though? The ones that said hidden variables don't exist?
Good catch. Pilot wave theory gets around that by being non-local, meaning the pilot wave can instantly affect particles across vast distances.
So it can still line up with the predictions of quantum mechanics.
Exactly. It's a clever way to try and reconcile determinism with the weirdness of quantum behavior.
So we've got all these different interpretations, each with its own strengths and weaknesses, but is there any way to know which one is the right one?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
I mean, how do you choose between all these wild interpretations?
The problem is, A lot of these interpretations make the same predictions about what we can actually observe.
Meaning there's no way to test them.
Pretty much. It's really, really hard to design an experiment that definitively says this is how quantum mechanics works.
So are we just stuck with this quantum mystery forever?
Not necessarily. Scientists are coming up with new ways to test these interpretations all the time. Who knows, maybe one day we'll stumble upon an experiment that gives us a definitive answer.
I hope so, because all this uncertainty is making my head spin.
But even though the debate about interpretations continues, we can't lose sight of the fact that entanglement has real practical applications.
Right. We can't get lost in the philosophical stuff forever. So, are we finally ready to talk about quantum computers and teleportation?
Absolutely. Those are some of the coolest applications of this bizarre quantum phenomenon.
Let's do it. Quantum computers, teleportation, bring it on.
Okay, so first up, quantum computers. They actually use entanglement to perform calculations that are impossible for regular computers to do.
And these quantum computers are already being developed, right?
Yep, they're still in their early stages, but they have the potential to completely revolutionize fields like medicine, materials science, and artificial intelligence.
Well, hold up. Are you saying we could have, like, new drugs being designed in a fraction of the time? Super efficient solar panels, AI that's actually intelligent.
All of that is within the realm of possibility.
That's insane. What about teleportation? Are we talking Star Trek level beaming here?
Not quite like Star Trek. Not yet, anyway. But quantum teleportation does allow us to transfer quantum information from one place to another without physically moving the particle carrying that information.
Wait, so we can teleport information. Does that mean we could someday teleport objects? Or even people?
Teleporting people is still very much science fiction, but teleporting information is a reality.
Okay, my brain is already struggling to keep up. How does teleporting information even work?
All right, picture this. You've got two entangled particles. We'll call them Alice and Bob.
Alice and my Bob got it.
You want to send information from Alice to Bob, but you don't want to physically move Alice.
Okay.
So what you do is you perform a measurement on Alice.
A measurement?
And it instantly affects Bob's state, even if they're miles apart.
Yeah.
Then you send some regular classical information to Bob.
Like a text message or something.
Exactly. Telling him the results of your measurement on Alice.
So the information doesn't actually travel from Alice to Bob. It's more like, but you already had the information because they were entangled, and we're just giving him the key to decipher it.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. And that's what makes it so secure. Since the information isn't actually traveling through space, it can't be intercepted.
So you're saying we could have, like, unhackable communication networks all thanks to this spooky action?
It's definitely a possibility.
That's incredible.
And that's not all.
There's more.
Oh yeah, some physicists believe entanglement might be the key to understanding some of the most mysterious things in the universe.
Like what?
Like black holes.
Black holes.
Yeah.
Those things are like the ultimate cosmic enigmas.
Exactly. They're places where gravity is so strong that nothing, not even light, can escape.
And they kind of break our understanding of physics as we know it.
Exactly. And one of the biggest mysteries surrounding black holes is something called the information paradox.
The information paradox.
Okay, remember that one?
Refresh my memory.
Okay, so in classical physics, the thinking is that if information falls into a black hole, it's destroyed, gone forever. But quantum mechanics says that information can never be truly lost.
So which is it?
That's the paradox.
So what happens to the information? Where does it go?
Well, some physicists think that entanglement might hold the answer.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
They think that maybe, just maybe, information that falls into a black hole doesn't disappear. Instead, it gets encoded in the entanglement between particles inside and outside the black hole.
Wait, so you're telling me that information can escape from a black hole?
Well, it wouldn't be traveling through space in the traditional sense. Remember, entanglement doesn't rely on information physically moving.
So it could kind of bypass the whole nothing escapes a black hole rule.
It's a mind-bending concept. But in theory, information could escape a black hole without ever breaking the speed of light.
My head is spinning. Are you saying that the universe is like a giant entangled web, and that entanglement might hold the key to understanding some of the most crazy objects out there?
It's a pretty wild idea, isn't it?
It's both terrifying and amazing.
And it's not just black holes. Some physicists are even toying with the idea that space-time itself might emerge from entanglement.
Space-time? You mean like the fabric of the universe?
The one and only.
Okay, now you've lost me.
Imagine a fabric woven from countless tiny threads of entangled information. That's what they're proposing.
So instead of thinking of space-time as this smooth, continuous thing, it's actually built up from these tiny, interconnected bits of information.
Exactly.
That's a lot to
I
process.
know, right?
It's a radical concept.
But it has the potential to change our understanding of gravity and the universe as a whole. From the tiniest particles to the largest structures in the cosmos, entanglement seems to be woven into the very fabric of reality.
Well, this deep dive has been quite the journey. We've gone from 0 to 100 real quick.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground today.
And my brain needs a serious reboot.
Yeah.
But seriously, this has been an incredible exploration of quantum mechanics and the EPR paradox. It's amazing to think that a paradox, a challenge to our understanding of the universe, could lead to such profound insights and possibilities.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest takeaway is that sometimes the most perplexing questions, the ones that seem to defy common sense, lead to the most incredible discoveries.
The EPR paradox is a testament to that, for sure.
It shows the power of human curiosity and our drive to understand the universe, even when it throws us curveballs.
So, to our listeners, I hope this deep dive has left you with a sense of wonder and awe at the mysteries of the universe.
And maybe it's inspired you to keep exploring these mind-bending concepts.
Keep asking those big questions. Keep pushing the boundaries of what you think you know. Who knows what incredible discoveries await?
The universe is full of surprises, that's for sure.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
See you then?